Hello, it's me. It's Back to the Basics. This is a Back to the Basics brief. This is an impromptu. I'm going to pull up a presentation that I did about the red flags of narcissism. So just give me a second here on while I do that. Let me see here. This always happens whenever I try to record. Here we go. Let me see if it's going to play. Yeah, this always happens. Grand Risings, this is Back to the Basics. I'm here again. I wanted to do this presentation on knowing the red flags, warning signs of a narcissist. Let's just say there's a lot going on out here. So let's get the first slide, or should I say the first red flag. Sharing too much early in the relationship. This gives a narcissist a chance to mirror our empathy. It's more than love bombing and future faking. It's the mirroring of our empathy that these narcs do to deceive us. And also, sharing too much gives the narcissist ammunition to use against us in future disagreements or arguments. So again, had to be very careful in any relationship, not just romantic, but also friendships, acquaintance, co-workers, boss, neighbor, you name it these days. Everyone should be thoroughly vetted, and it's just very unwise to share too much early in the relationship. And this one again falls on us. Hold on just a second. Number 2, this is another red flag, things moving fast. There's an old expression, fools rush in. Take time to thoroughly vet people, specifically 3 to 4 years in romantic relationships. There's various sources out there that says, once we get to like the 36-month point and beyond, at this point, if you haven't seen, the best and worst of a person, if you haven't figured out this individual yet or that individual yet, then something has gone wrong. But it's we need to take our time and just slow it down and take it easy. Because when it comes to narcissists, these people they just move fast. Often. This one right here, pay attention. Number 3, the third red flag. Pay attention to how people talk about their past experiences, family, and friends. If you notice they are the victim or the hero and never the villain, it's a red flag. And mind you, it may not be all negative, but most of the time they will say something negative, and then at times they may try to sprinkle some sugar on, to try to say 1 or 2 things positive, but you get the idea. It's predominantly negative. And if you see that there's a pattern where, they're the victim or they're the hero, and they don't ever say that, I was wrong or so and so and so forth, yeah, that's a red flag. Yeah, you might be dealing with a narcissist. Yep. And mind you, I am going to read these slides. For those, I have to consider those who are visually impaired. And I am going to read every slide and then add some commentary. And when I use the word narcissist, it is gender neutral. I'm not here to bash men or women. And narcissist, it doesn't, whether if it's a man or woman, narcissist is a narcissist. Number 4, they emphasize material things, especially money. Yes, I did put this in here. My ex-husband said, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to refer to him as Mr. Perfect since, he, didn't do anything wrong, so to speak. In fact, he gave the then new truck more attention, affection, and support than me, his wife, at the time. To elaborate on other things, mind you, that, material things not only includes money, but also status, power, and image. And I'm going to bring this up later in the presentation because image, let me tell you something. These narcs will go above and beyond to protect their squeaky clean, perfect image because none of us are perfect. They will literally throw people under the bus and direct the bus driver where to hit that person as they throw them under the bus. You best believe it. But yeah, when it comes to, they're all about that bag, all about the money. Yeah, huge red flag. Yeah, money, power, status, material things. That keeping up with the Joneses image, yeah, red flag. Number 5, red flag, their actions and statements don't match. Yeah, liar, liar, pants on fire. These narcs are pathological liars. Habitual liars, potato, potato. The very things they say they would never do, they do. You best believe. So this is why it's so important that during the vetting process that we pay attention, we actively listen, and because you have to understand, narcs, they will slip up and tell on themselves. We just have to know when to catch it. And it's not just catching them in their lies, it's catching them when they actually say the truth and then they try to mask it with humor. Okay? But yeah, liars. I mean, they will literally say that the sky is black and, you're both looking up at the sky and the sky is blue. I'm serious. I'm serious. Number 6 red flag. This is a huge one. Confusion. This is really, 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 really bad. If an individual has to ask another individual where they stand in a relationship, it's a huge red flag. Often when there is confusion, there is most likely gaslighting. This one's pretty much self-explanatory. No one should be confused where they stand with someone. Everything should be clear. No one should be walking on eggshells. And then, of course, this is going to segue into gaslighting. But yeah, confusion, that's a huge sign that this is unhealthy. It's an unhealthy relationship. Number 7 red flag, gaslighting. This is the definition I found. I was Googling gaslighting, the practice of psychologically manipulating someone into questioning their own sanity, memory, or powers of reasoning. To me, gaslighting is a form of manipulation and emotional abuse used against another for them to question reality. And here are some of the phrases that they'll use. They'll say, "I never said that. You're crazy. You're too sensitive. You're weak. That never happened." And we can go on and on as far as the many phrases, the many things that they'll say in an attempt to gaslight us, to keep us confused, and to keep us questioning reality. And the sad part about this is that over time, this right here is very destructive. It destroys people's self-esteem. It destroys people's self-confidence. And it's just demonic, in my opinion. Number 8, this is one of those huge things they also use. This is blame shift. Blame shift is used to shift blame to another person, and yeah, i.e. the word salad. And to me, word salad is a form of a circular argument that includes gaslighting, projection, blame shift, in order to make the narcissist the victim. And of course, we're the villain. We're the one destroying the relationship. But you see what I'm saying? When a person is in a relationship, it's no longer about, them anymore. Psychological projection is any behavior in which someone asserts that someone else has beliefs, behaviors, problems, or insecurities that they themselves have. And this is what narcs do, in the middle of that word salad that, that we are talking about, that I'm presenting to you. They try to project their beliefs and all that onto you, and and that's just a defense mechanism because you or we have called them out on their BS, on their lies, and now that projection and guilt tripping and all that, and gaslighting and blame shift, that's all for them to attempt to escape accountability. Which brings me to number 9 red flag, 0 accountability. Even if a person catches a narcissist lying and or cheating, they take 0 accountability and will blame shift to make themselves the victim. So for example, let's say you're an upstanding dude and you catch your woman cheating. What's she gonna say? "Oh, well, if you would have did X, Y, Z, A, B, C, I wouldn't have cheated." Mm-hmm. "Well, you're boring, so I cheated." Excuse me. That's not a justification for cheating or lying. Whenever you wasn't out there with your home girl, you was out there, letting somebody else park their truck in your garage, so to speak. But anyway, 0 accountability. You could literally catch them texting another man, another woman, and they gonna, "Oh, you didn't see what you thought you saw." Going back to that gaslighting. Tell you can't make this stuff up. These narcs are just have no shame. no shame. Let's get the number 10. I'm talking about the narcissists. Narcs, they love drama. A narc will make an argument out of something small. And it could be like a slight inflection of your voice, and then all of a sudden, well, you have an attitude, and this is why I can't talk to you, because you always have an attitude. You have an attitude 24/7. Again, they will provoke an argument out in public to get a reaction out of you or us. Then they'll play the victim. They will record partial conversations that highlight your or our outbursts and exclude the parts of their gaslighting and provocation. And yes, they will do that. Because they're that evil. This is why we must learn to gray or yellow rock. We have to learn to take our emotions out of it. We must use our energy wisely. Take our emotions out of it, as I said, and narcissistic rage often follows a narcissistic injury. They don't like to be confronted with the truth. I'm not talking about his truth or her truth. I'm talking about the truth. They love drama. And which segues perfectly into number 11. They will use a smear campaign against us. Here's the thing. Let's talk about it. The irony is, the very things they say you're doing to them, they are actually doing to you, to us. So, here's the thing. Watch this. The smear campaign is really the narc telling on theirself and attaching our name to it. That's all it is. The best response that we can do, or that you can do, is just remain silent. I know it's difficult because you want to clap back, But the thing is, don't take the bait, because in the end, that's all just to, again, bait you in, and then you get down to their level, and then, again, they get narcissistic supply out of that. The best response to the smear campaign is to be silent. Let the narc talk. Let the narcissist talk. Because the more they talk in smear campaign, they're really just telling on themselves, but they're just rubber stamping your name to it or our name to it. But they're really telling on themselves the whole time. You see what I'm saying? Just be silent. There's a time to speak, and there's a time when you just got to bite your tongue and go on. Because at the end of the day, if this, when it comes to a narcissist, it's all a sick game to them of just hurting people, exploiting people for their own personal gain. Let's get to number 12. If you're fatigued around them, it's a red flag. And again, this is exactly why I said in the previous slide that we need to save our energy. Save our energy to use it for something positive and productive. So, this symptom is a huge symptom of narcissistic abuse. Narcs need supply, as I mentioned earlier, and they drain others financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And fatigue is also a symptom of depression. You see what I'm saying? If you notice that you are sick around certain people, you're not feeling well all of a sudden, you got a headache, a cough, or whatever, you shouldn't just let that pass by without, really analyzing and really studying your environment. Well, why am I always sick around this person? I don't feel well around this person. My energy is down. My spirit is low. I'm having symptoms of anxiety. Yeah, that's your body telling us that there is something toxic in our environment. Are you hearing what I'm saying? There is something toxic in our environment. Let's get to number 13. Narcs have no empathy. They're incapable of putting themselves in someone else's shoes, and quite frankly, they don't want to. They know what empathy is, they just don't have it. And while they can mirror empathy, even with mirroring empathy, they can only mirror to a certain extent. Because certain individuals, people are generally pretty good at, if they slow it down, like I said, and don't move too fast, then over time they can pick up on, oh, this person doesn't have any empathy. They're just mirroring my behavior. You see what I'm saying? But they have no empathy. And the reason why they have no empathy is because they view other people as objects, disposable objects. They view other people as their property. You're just a possession that they can pick up, use, and then put back on the shelf until they want to use you again or use us again. This is what narcissists do, and it doesn't matter whether they're female or male. This is what they do. They don't care about a person, being confused. They don't care about a person crying. They don't care if they broke somebody's heart who really, really genuinely cared about them. But let me move on. Number 14, narcs are up at night. They walk around plotting their next scheme or evil deed, and they will be up at night. They'll take their little cat nap, whatever have you, at 1:32, 2:30 in the morning, and they'll be right back up at 5 or 6 a.m. And I'm just using that as an example. And they will literally walk around the house and plot of how they're going to pretty much destroy us and use us for everything that they can. Number 15, we're going to park here for just a little while. Narcs are restless and they're unsatisfied. They often have to be doing something with someone, and yes, that something could be cheating with someone on you or us. And also with restless, what I don't have on this slide is that you will notice that they like to move around a lot. And I get it. If somebody has a job where they travel a certain percentage of the time, or if a person's in the military, okay, that's different. That comes with the profession. But I'm talking about people, they move around a lot. And the reason why they move around a lot is that they have to go somewhere where nobody knows them so they can start on a clean, fresh slate and start their narcissistic abuse cycle all over again. In a new neighborhood, new community, all over again. And this is why they move. They move from state to state, city to city, town to town. You see what I'm saying? That's a red flag. And as far as them being unsatisfied, the thing is, you could do the best that you can do. You could work 16 hours a day, provide, protect. You could be an outstanding guy, and it's still not enough. You can be an outstanding wife. And let me, before I get on that statement, you can be an outstanding husband. You could be doing everything that you possibly can, and it's still not enough. As far as the ladies, you could be an outstanding wife, cook, clean, submit, do what you're supposed to do, and it's still not good enough. And everything good that you do, that narcissist is there to point out, well, you know, you did A through X, but you forgot Y, Z. You see what I'm saying? Who wants to live like that? A person who highlights you doing all this stuff, but you know, you didn't do Y, Z. I did A through X. Who wants to live like that with someone who's never satisfied? All right. Red flag number 16. Narcs hate their own company. I did put this down as a special note. Be wary if they're a part of a fraternity or sorority, because again, they have to. They don't like being by themselves. They must have supply and hate being alone for even short periods of time. And here's the reason. They don't like being alone because, you know, and they have to constantly be on the move because they don't want to have to deal with reality. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to deal with reality. They don't want to have alone time to self-reflect. Introspection is not their thing. Looking inward is not their thing. They disconnected from themselves a long time ago and they adopted a false persona. This is why they hate being by themselves, even for short periods of time. Number 17, narcissists hate boundaries. They hate boundaries. If an individual consistently pushes your boundaries, it's a red flag. They don't respect your time, you, or the relationship. And I'm going to say this again and then change some of the wording. They don't respect our time, us, or the relationship. Boundaries permit balance, harmony, and protection. Boundaries are good. And narcs hate that. As long as a person's boundaries are weak and they can sort of, you know, get what they want whenever they want, oh, you're a good person. But time you start setting limitations and boundaries, oh, you're no good then. Number 18, narcs don't know who they are. They put on many masks for various situations. They're soulless chameleons, in my opinion. You know, and they'll put on a mask to, you know, to blend into whatever situation it is. They adopt a false persona and refuse to accept the truth or heal from past trauma. And mind you, a lot of times something happened in their childhood. They could have come from a family or a parent. One or both of their parents could have been narcissists. They could have had a narcissistic sibling. But whatever it was, they decided to disconnect and adopt a false persona. And I put personal, but y'all get the idea. I'm going to have to correct that. They adopt a false persona. Even in their lies, they believe they're right and everybody else has the problem. And for those who have taken a psychology class, or, you're studying psychology, these people have an external locus of control. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never them. You will hardly ever get a "I'm sorry" out of these people. But again, they don't know who they are, because again, you they're emotionally underdeveloped. Emotionally, they're a child, and in an adult body, so they don't know who they are. Number 19, I had to include this. Narcs get worse with age. You know, as the narcissist gets older, or the narc gets older, they realize that it's not as easy attracting grade A supply. Therefore, their sources of supply usually will abandon them. I'll say, therefore, their sources of supply eventually will abandon them, because everybody, has a different um, tolerance level for BS, for shenanigans. But people learn their pattern of behavior. You know, After a while, people start catching on to the guilt tripping, the gaslighting, the projection, the word salad, the blame shift. Um, Everything. People start to catch on. My mother, if she was still here, she would say, you can fool some people some of the time, but not everybody all the time. And this is why, again, I said that, that red flag of them moving a lot. You remember that red flag? That they're restless, unsatisfied. This is why they move around a lot, because people get smart. And before the end of this presentation, I'm going to give some resources out. People get smart to their game, and then they figure out what's going on, because the resources are out there. You best believe that. This one right here, number 20, narcs fear abandonment. Remember when I said that they hate being alone? They have to have narcissistic, they have to have supply, they have to have somebody else. So to me, this is ironic when narcissism, or NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, often eventually leads to them, the narc, discarding their victims, or vice versa. So we have an individual with no empathy. Emotionally, they're a child. When they go into a narcissistic rage, they just are over the top. They don't care about what they say. And some of those times they mean exactly what they say. And it doesn't have to be during a narcissistic rage. It could be even through using humor to mask what they say. But pretty much you have an individual that treats another person as if they're their emotional punching bag, as if they're emotional. They decide to leave. You see how you see how good Lord have mercy. Do you see how simple-minded that is? So a person is supposed to stay in a situation where they're being abused. You see what I'm saying? They fear abandonment, but yet you treat people like garbage while you're in the relationship. And you don't think that certain people are not going to take that. Certain people are not going to come back to that. You see what I'm saying? The men especially. Now, you got some chick treating you like trash and guilt tripping you and all that, and you doing everything in the butt. Nah. Bye, Felicia. Nah, no. Get away from that. That is a toxic individual. You deserve better than that. That's why, healthy relationships are, they're, they're mutual. There's a mutual respect there. There's there's a mutual exchange of communication, of trust, respect, compassion, joy. You see what I'm saying? Nah. Okay. Let's get into this narcissistic cycle of destruction or narcissistic cycle of abuse. Because number 21, we need to know the cycle of narcissistic abuse, which is love bomb, devalue, and discard. Oftentimes, we operate in our emotions, and we must learn to operate in logic, specifically for the women. Um, we must sit back, observe, and analyze situations and people. If anyone doesn't know who Dr. Romney is, or Dr. Lace Carter, he has a YouTube channel called Surviving Narcissism. You're missing out on not just learning about narcissism, yet also healing. I highly recommend them, as well as the T on MPD and relationships, Narc Free Living, and there's so many other channels that I do be watching on YouTube. I'll watch Narcology Unscripted, Mr. Dave over there. I'll check out the videos that what's her name, Miss Clarice. She puts out a lot of material on narcissism, and some of her videos are short and she gets right to the point. Dr. Carolyn Bryant, she's another one.
Carmen Bryant.
And there's so many others. Who else is there that I'd be peeking at when it comes to just looking up certain things on narcissism? Man, there's just so many. Mr. Hario, I finally caught alive, and there's many other people who talk about it, but Dr. Romney, she's like known for just going on various platforms and really, really doing a deep dive into narcissism. But this is the cycle: love bomb, devalue, and discard. A lot of the red flags that we have talked about is in the devaluation stage. So here's the narcissistic abuse cycle, and idealization, or aka the love bomb. Oh yeah, this is where we can do no wrong. Flattery, gifts, praise, approval. You're my angel. Yeah, all that stuff. And acts of perceived kindness. Yeah, perceived kindness. Keyword perceived. Then when you start, okay, you set a boundary. You call them out on their lies and or cheating. And this is where they meet a new source of supply, or you don't give them what they want, and then here comes devaluation. You get criticism all the time, cruelty, disapproval, rejection, rage, triangulation, the silent treatment. And I do believe Dr. Romney used the word stonewalling for the silent treatment. And pretty much it's just another form of gaslighting that they like to use, because the silent treatment, that's just used to punish someone, and which is really childish. Yeah. And again, a lot of what we have covered, gaslighting, no empathy, the smear campaign. The smear campaign is one of those things. It can occur in devaluation and even after the discard. Yeah, you got to watch that smear campaign, because that could be devaluation and discard. Yeah, it really gets ugly, because then you get those flying monkeys, you get those enablers, And it just, again, this is another reason why they can't be alone. That they have to have their flying monkeys around, their enablers. And then you transition to the discard, and this is where they discard you, the narc, or you go no contact, or they suck you back in. And we're going to talk about the Hoover, and we're going to be talking about triangulation. But I just wanted you to see this. This is the cycle. This is the cycle of narcissistic abuse. And mind you, this happens to both men and women. Okay. Narcs are evil. Or should I say narcs are manipulative or evil? Let's talk about triangulation. Triangulation is when a toxic or manipulative person, often a person with strong narcissistic traits, brings a third person into their relationship in order to remain in control. So pretty much it's a power move. And the reason why I have this scripture on the screen is because I do believe in the Most High, and I practice spirituality. The thief cometh not for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. That's John 10:10, coming from the King James Version of the Bible. And here's the thing, we can't afford to ignore the spiritual warfare in this. And this is why I put, for those who are believers, the enemy sent these narcs to destroy us and the narc. It really is a shame, because one of the things that they do when it comes, they just don't realize that, I can't really say they don't realize it, because they do adopt a false persona. So let me correct that. They're evil. And when you start using things, even before that, everything that I mentioned up to this, talking about triangulation, that's very evil, that you're going to add another person in the relationship to maintain control. And then, again, oftentimes, whenever this person, they'll speak negatively about this third person during the triangulation. So it's all a game to them. It's pretty much a divide and conquer. And the thing is, that third person might even be the new supply. I'm telling you, these narcs are wicked. This third person that they're putting in the relationship that has no business being there, it could be the new supply, or it could be a back burner supply. It could be an ex. You see what I'm saying? That's evil. That's evil. And that's why I say, yeah. Because I called my ex-husband a whole demon. The things that he said, the things that he did, and the things that he didn't do, and I was your wife? No, I'm good. Don't try to project on me that, have the nerve to ask questions like, did we really mean those vows? I stood before the Most High, and I meant those vows, which was why I spent many nights crying and prayer and reading scripture as to whether or not, like, what is the course of action? Like, where do I go? What do I do? I want it to work, but hey, I'm not not being married to a demon, a child of Satan. I don't think so. In fact, I know not so. And let me tell you something, when there is manipulation and when there is evil, let me tell you something, there is no peace. How can a person have peace when they're walking on eggshells, they're confused, they're questioning reality, and, there is no peace. It seems like that individual is constantly on the defense because this person wants to constantly, persistently gaslight them, blame shift and everything else that we spoke about. You can't have peace. You can't, that's really hard to experience peace and joy in that type of situation. There we go. Number 23. They, the narc hoovers. Okay, we're almost there. I know, I'm long-winded. But this is important. Hoovering is a scheme or technique used by a narcissist who tries to suck you or us back into their abusive relationship with them after you or we have escaped or they have discarded you or us. Pretty much they want to suck us back in like a vacuum cleaner, And again, the second point, these narcs are very manipulative. They will use many of the red flags mentioned previously to include love bombing. They'll even go back to love bombing and future faking to get their sources of supply back, because that's all that we are to them, is a source of supply. They don't care. Sadly, often in many cases, if a person returns to the narc, the narcissistic abuse is worse than it was in the initial relationship. Okay? So, and like I said, narcs are very manipulative. They'll put on the waterworks. They'll cry at the top of a hat. Like I said before, they don't know who they are. They will put on various masks to fit a situation. And they don't mean any of it. They might act right for 2 seconds and then they'll be back to their old ways and it'll be even worse. Because remember what I said, they need supply. Here we go. This is one of the last things this is the last red flag. You or we experience the trauma bond. A trauma bond is a connection between an abusive person and the individual they abuse. It typically occurs when the abused person begins to develop sympathy or affection for the abuser. And, for an example, Stockholm Syndrome is a specific type of trauma bond. But again, and the trauma bond is real. And it's a shame because it's very painful, because we find that the narcissist lives like rent-free in our minds. And then that right there keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck, hurting and in pain. Because we really do love this person, really do care about this person, but this person is not good for us. They're toxic. And they don't mean us any good. When I said in that last slide that they're evil, oh, you better believe that. Well, on red flag number 22, before we spoke about them hoovering, they don't mean us any good. The only reason why they hoover is to come back to destroy us. That's it. You better believe that. That's why I put up that scripture, John 10:10. The thief comes but to steal, kill, and to destroy. That's what these narcs do. But in order to heal and move on, I recommend a multifaceted, holistic approach that includes mind, body, and spirit to heal from narcissistic abuse. And you know, prayer is essential. While prayer is essential, faith without works is dead. And that's why therapy, exercise, nutrition, you know, self-care, having a good support system is so very important. You know, and there are various sources out there that can help. But yeah, holistic approach, you gotta do holistic. You know, doing, you know, antidepressant medication, you gotta do more than that. And in fact, a lot of that stuff isn't healthy. I don't believe it to be healthy anyway for us. You know, let me go to our resources. Oh yeah, here we go. I had to put this back up here again so that we can look at that cycle. So a lot of what I spoke about, it does take place into the devaluation, but it can also happen during the discard, particularly if a person goes low contact and they don't go no contact. And you know, in various situations, if a person has a child with, you know, the narc, then, you know, going no contact, that might not be feasible, because again, you share a child or you share children. So, you know, everybody's situation is different. And again, if you're in that situation, I recommend strong boundaries. Definitely have a solid support system around you. And I'm not talking about somebody who's going to be an enabler, but someone who's going to really tell the truth and also encourage you. That's important. Let's go to, this right here, know the cycle. Yeah, don't get caught slipping out here, because these demons, these narcs they're just out here to to steal, kill, and to destroy. They leave a whole path of destruction, which is why they have to run on over and move to another town, another state, another city, and start all back over again. Here's some of the resources. Okay. We got psychcentral.com. This article went into detail about triangulation. Dr. Romney, she talks about covert narcissism. Another video of her talks about how to communicate with a narcissist. Because like I said, not everybody's going to be in the same situation. You know, certain people, again, that share children, you know, may have to go low contact and have strong boundaries and have a strong support system and pray, get therapy, you know, exercise, eat a nutrient-dense diet, and exercise and practice self-care. Dr. Lace Carter, he talks about the evil beneath narcissism. He goes into it with that video. The T on NPD, she talks how she... I just love Miss T over there. She's talking about how narcissists rank their supply. I did mention grade A supply. She goes into detail with that video on how they rank supply. And then Narc Free Living, who has, I do believe, her Chain Breakers University over there. She really, really gets into the spirituality, and so does Miss T, about, you know, when it comes to these narcissists. In this video, she's talking about breaking the narcissist grip, and that will help those who are seeking to break that trauma bond, you know, that is just terrible. Okay. And that pretty much is the end of the presentation. there. Now what I will say is that this is not an inclusive list. I'm pretty sure there are various other red flags. Um, this list came to me just after reflecting on some experiences in my life, um, specifically running into Mr. Perfect, and it is what it is. I don't want people to go through what I had to go through, and that's why I made this list, and I decided to share not only, you know, the list of red flags, but also, you have to know that the narcissistic abuse, as far as the cycle of narcissistic abuse, because it doesn't change. It doesn't change. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, well, with all these red flags, well, what if I forget? Here's the thing. The human body is a medical miracle. And just like I said before, whenever I highlighted fatigue, there's times where our body is so intelligent, it already recognizes and begins to react if something is toxic in our environment. Just remember that. If something doesn't feel right, you got a gut feeling, then this is where, with time and with experience, we learn to trust our gut instinct. We learn to trust what how our bodies react to certain environments with certain people. So I just wanted to share this with you, because there are a lot of people that are hurting out there, and I'll say this: you're not alone. And each day that the Most High gives you is a day to start all back over again, and to heal, to do better, and to do something nice for yourself. So with that being said, I love you as a sister. I just wanted to share this presentation with you all, and hopefully that this actually helps someone out there who you might be researching on narcissism. You might have experienced some of these red flags, and here are some sources that could actually help you and give you more insight. But I love you as a sister. Grand rising, grand afternoon, grand evening, grand night to all those who are going to be viewing this. And with that being said, I'm gone.
Okay, I'm not really gone yet. Hold on here. Let me get out. Let me get out of this. Okay, because I know we're still recording. I know we're coming up on an hour. Thank you all for hanging in there. But I did want to share that presentation. Some final thoughts. I would say that another red flag, if you get an inkling that someone, because I think with narcissism, it's more than just they need narcissistic supply, or someone constantly praising them or admiring them or giving them positive reinforcement. Because to me, when I reflect on some past experiences, I believe that these demons, and yes, I'm calling them demons, that they really want worship. They want to be in that number one spot. And there's only one person that should be in the number one spot. And in my opinion, that should be the Most High. And another thing is, if there are signs of codependency, because here's what I believe, and I'm not a doctor, but it seems like to me that narcissism and codependency, they both should be unpacked. Because to me, and this is my theory, is that there's definitely, I would say, a common denominator when it comes to codependency, not only with the narcissist, but also with the person experiencing narcissistic abuse. Because if someone is being gaslighted and they're questioning reality, then that, and if they're going to the narc for just simple decision making stuff, then to me, there is an element of codependency, not only with the narcissist, but also with the empath. Or the other person could be narcissistic like the narcissist, but they could be on a lower spectrum, which Dr. Romani has talked about. But again, thank you for listening to the podcast. I'm going to try, I might have to attempt to do this presentation, a visual presentation on Zoom or something else. But thank you again for listening. And with that being said, hey, I love you as a sister. Have a great, blessed day, grand night, grand evening. And this time I'm really gone.